Good morning, everybody, and welcome to our next episode of A Get a Life Moment with myself, Lisa Davies. And today I am joined by the amazing Gregg Chapman, sound healer, didge player, Australian living in Spain. Morning, Greg, how are you?
Good morning, Lisa.
Rather warm by the looks of it there in Spain.
Rather warm, yes. We're heading for high 30s, possibly into the 40s today. So
Wow.
Yeah.
Yes, I can see you've got the fan blowing the plants there in the background to keep cool.
On flat out, yeah. You need to just get as much air as you can because it gets really
pretty warm. But you know, one of the benefits of living in Spain.
You can't come to Spain and complain about the heat. You know?
No, absolutely not. So for our audience listener, I mean, we've known each other, I don't even know how many years now, but it's a long time.
Long
time. But for our audience listening, who is Gregg Chapman?
Well, I'm originally from Australia, but I moved to the UK about 15 years ago, and I got married over there to a lovely lady, and so I've been playing the didgeridoo for about that long as well.
Yeah.
And after she passed away a year ago, I decided to drive down here to Spain and just start a whole new chapter. So
wow.
A little bit about my background.
Yeah, so that seems like a very sort of whistle-stop tour. But you know, what was your journey? I mean, in the first instance, what brought you from, obviously apart from following the wonderful Gina, what brought you from Australia to the UK, and what started you on that journey of, obviously you're Australian, but didgeridoo is an indigenous instrument. So what started you on that whole journey from there to where you are now?
Well, it started off in Australia, and I was having lots and lots of dreams about Japan, and in my dream I'd be speaking Japanese, and so I just felt this pull to go to Japan, and then a lineup of just divine intervention, the universe. It took me to Japan, and that's where I met my wife. To be, and so I then followed her back to the UK, and when I was in Japan, I rediscovered the didgeridoo while I was there, and so it was like, because I'd done a lot of travelling, I felt as though I really wanted to learn how to play, and I went back to Australia for a little while, and I picked up my first didgeridoo, which was actually this one here.
Ah, you still got it there, look at that.
Still got it, yeah, that's the first ever didge that I bought, and it's a beauty. And I had a couple of lessons by some Aboriginal elders, and I just got hooked.
What was their response to, you know, somebody who wasn't from the Indigenous community wanting to learn this ancient spiritual instrument?
Yeah, they're open about it. It is considered to be men's business,
right?
So, however, you know, they are opening up to the idea that you know, women playing it, but traditionally it's men's business. I think so long as you just, you know, it's important that you acknowledge them, you recognise that this is their instrument and this is, you know, highly spiritual instrument. And so whenever I play, I just take a few moments and I just acknowledge that this is where it comes from. It comes from the original custodians of Australia. It's their spiritual instrument, and you know that they're okay with it. And so since then, I've reached out to some Aboriginal elders, and because I had this issue for a long time, it's like, you know, I'm insulting them. You know, I don't want to upset them. I want to acknowledge them in some way.
Yeah.
And so anyway, I've been reassured by some elders that that they actually really appreciate that you know, here I am, I'm fascinated by their culture.
Yeah.
And sharing that with the world. It's a bit like coming here to Spain, and I'm learning about, you know, my Spanish is still not the best, but you know, I'm learning, and the Spanish appreciate it.
Yeah.
You're wanting to learn, you're wanting to mix in. So I think that's important with whatever culture. You know, you don't just mix with, you know, other English speakers. You show an interest, and so I am learning about Aboriginal. They call it law.
Right. Okay.
So I'm learning about it. There's a lot to learn, but it's really beautiful.
And so how did that develop then? So obviously you've got this calling to go to Japan, where you met Gina. I found it really interesting that it was whilst in Japan that you were called to play the didge, not even at home in Australia. And you've had this blessed interaction with the elders, the Aboriginal elders, which in itself must be quite amazing. Amazing. So, and then what? How obviously you moved to the UK, and how did you then become a sound healer? How did it progress to that?
Well, it purely happened by accident. Like I had no intention at all to be doing it. It took me about 2 years to get good at it, and I then you know, I wasn't playing in front of anybody whatsoever.
Mm-hmm.
I just sit at the top of my stairwell, because we lived in a 1700s built stone cottage that was cold and drafty. So I'd sit at the top of the stairwell and I'd just howl down this thing, and it just made this awful farting noise. And then one day it just started to work, and it's like, wow. And so one day, we were invited to a barbecue, and I thought, I'll take me didge, you know, I'll have a bit of a go. And I just started playing around the fire, and I didn't really know what I was doing. I was just, you know. And then somebody came up to me and she said, she'd been in a car accident and had a lot of pain in her shoulder, back and neck and whatever. And she said, would you mind, you know, having a go on you know, where she was experiencing the pain? Like putting the end of it close to where she was having the pain, and just playing. Because it's vibration, works, ultrasound works. I thought, that's genius. Yeah, why not? I guess probably won't work. Anyway, it did. I got a message from her a few weeks later. I don't know what you've done, but the pain's gone.
Brilliant.
So I was like, whoa, wow, what's going on here? So that was the moment there that I started to think, well, there's something really interesting here with what's going on. And then I noticed that as I was getting better and better at it, still upstairs in the where the landing pad of the stairs, the stairwell, I'd sit there and play, and I'd find that I'd go into an altered state, like I just lose myself in the sound, and you know, I just end up just playing, and I'm starting to have like out of body experiences where I lose my sense of self in the sound, and it became addictive. And Gina would have to come up every now and then and come on, you little bugger, you know, go out and mow the lawns, or something. And it's like, I'm in my own little space here.
Yeah.
You know? Yeah. And so it was then that I thought, well, if it's doing this effect on me, what might it do for other people? So I thought, well, I'll try out a meditation class, and I'll just see what happens. So I put one on, and it actually had a huge amount of interest, and it was full first session. And I thought, well, I really don't know what I'm doing.
But it seems to be working.
Well, I'm just going to try it and see what happens. And I thought, well, I don't know. Anyway, people seem to enjoy it.
Yeah.
I'd never experienced it before, being on the other end of it, and I still haven't. I've never experienced didgeridoo healing being on the receiving end, you see.
Oh, you need to sort that out.
So
You need to
I
find another didge player.
have no idea what it's like. So it was only it's just purely been based on feedback and just through just through playing it and understanding and you know, unlocking it, and then it just grew. You know, I had people come along, and some of them, one lady, she worked in a special needs school for autism. She said, "Oh, have you ever tried this out with children with autism?" I was like, "No." She said, "Well, would you like to?" "Yeah, all right, come on." Well, you know, I said, "Look, I can't guarantee anything. I'll come along for free. Just pay me. Let's just do a trial run." So I went along to the school, and it was phenomenal. I got the kids into a state of relaxation, like really quick with it, and the teachers were like, "That's amazing." So, I don't know. I don't know. I have no idea. But it's really interesting, though, isn't it? It's like, yeah, can we get you in again? Yeah, of course. Yeah. So that then just developed its own thing, and I started to get in a lot more work in special needs schools, and especially with autism. So that got me hooked, and so I started to then do some more research into it and finding out, well, what is it actually doing? You know, what is it scientifically? And I'm still figuring that out, but my understanding is that the didgeridoo is emitting a low frequency range of sound, and some of that frequency is down in like the alpha theta range.
Yeah.
That's relaxation down to deep relaxation. And so there's a principle that's called brainwave entrainment, and that basically says that you know, we can't help but to step into synchronization with the frequency that is around us, because you know, we're energy beings. We are electrical, you know, and you know, we have this auric field around us. You know this.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And so you know, if you're in a stressful environment, you know, unless you meditate regularly and you're aware of the energy that you're in, you're going to feel stressed. You're going to become entrained to that frequency. And it's the same thing with, you know, if you go to a rock concert, you've got that doof, doof, doof. It entrains your heart rate to that sort of frequency. So if I play a low frequency didge, you know, this is about 60, 55 hertz, let's say, about around there, B flat down to A. If I play that less than heart rate at resting, you know, less than around 57 or lower beats per minute, so it slows down your heart rate and traps brain waves, and so you start going into a state of relaxation, and you can't help it. You just start to go. But it depends upon whether the person, it sort of needs to be a level of buying into it.
Yeah.
Otherwise, you know, I've done some sessions, and you know, they've told me later, "Oh, while you were playing, I was tinkering away on the computer." It's like, well, that's not going to do anything.
Yeah, it's counterproductive, isn't it?
Productive. So, you know, people obviously need to buy into it and take some responsibility for it.
But then, you know, when you're in that relaxation response, then that is where the healing can occur as well.
Absolutely.
The
so
body's not holding that tension and those stresses, is it?
Yeah, and so once we go into a state of deep relaxation, you know, it slows down the sympathetic nervous system, which is responsible for the fight-flight response. So it slows down that, and then the parasympathetic system has got a chance to kick in, and this is when we're in the healing stage. You know, this is instead of running away from the saber-toothed tiger, which is the sympathetic, the parasympathetic means that the body can self-heal, and this is the problem. We're stressed most of the time, society at the moment is ruled by fear.
Yeah.
So we're in this state of stress. Sympathetic system at the moment is clicked in, and we're being controlled in this state, and it's affecting everything. You know,
Yeah.
it affects our connection with Source. It affects our, it just affects everything
Yeah.
on all levels. And so, right now, this is so important that we can recognise that we're in this state of fear, and what can you do about it?
Yeah.
To keep yourself healthy and well, and whatever practice that might be. So it might be yoga, great. It might be meditation, mindfulness. For me, it's the didge, 100%,
Yeah.
because it works subconsciously. It's beyond words. It bypasses the thinking process, because it gets into the subconscious by altering your brainwave function. So it's sneaky. So that's what I love about
It, yeah. And I know I've had didge healing with you, and my lasting memory of one session was I could hear a name when you were playing the didge, and I said, I kept hearing this name. What is this name?
Yeah.
And so, what was the name?
What was the name?
Yeah, it was your guide, wasn't it?
Right, yeah, could have been. Could well have been his name. Yeah, it could have been him. It could have been yours.
Yeah.
Yeah, who knows? Yeah,
Who knows? Yeah.
I've got a lovely few guides around me that I channel into, and yeah, it's just beautiful. You know, I don't feel alone, and it's just lovely. They just come around. They don't really say anything. Occasionally, I've got my Aboriginal mate. His name's Yeti. He just sort of, if I'm being a bit of a plonker, he'll just sort of like shake his head, and he'll just laugh.
And that's enough. That's enough to say, oh, okay, then.
That's enough. That's enough for me to say, yeah, okay, I can see that. Yeah, I'm being a plonker. What do I need to do? And it's just a matter of tuning into his energy and understanding and looking at his sacred masculine. And it's like, well, that's kind of where I need to be. I need to be that,
Yeah.
and not based on fear, not based upon this lost little boy who's going through this grieving cycle of poor me and this, that, and the other. It's like, okay, yes, my wife's passed away, but I'm still here, and it's important for me to access that strength that's around me and is actually me.
Yeah.
These cards are actually they're aspects of us.
Yeah.
Aspects of it's aspect of me.
Yeah. So you've also added to your repertoire of skills and knowledge, haven't you? Because you went on to train to be a NLP master practitioner as well, didn't you?
Yes, I did. Yes, I trained under Philip Underwood, as you have, and both done his training together. I've attended his trainings over several years and helped out for a while as well. And so NLP and hypnosis, NLP is neuro-linguistic programming. It's about altering the way that we think about things, and it's very, very good technique. So I use these techniques probably more on a very subtle level, especially looking at language patterns. And what I often do with people is before I've even started, just by using subtle language patterns and intonation of my voice, you start putting them into a trance before I've even done anything.
Yeah.
And so this is the power that language has, and using that intention You know, I want to show people where the energy is. I want to show people, you know, I want you at this frequency so that you can find out these answers for yourself.
Yeah,
So,
it's really interesting. I mean, words are very powerful, as we know. Words cast spells. That's why we call it spelling.
absolutely.
So mind your spelling is what I would say. Yeah.
And especially, like, you know, when I work with autism, using eye contact, you can drop someone into a trance just by using eye contact and using body language, and slowing my voice down, and just by doing that, it just has a massive effect.
Yeah.
People don't know it, and it's frustrating because you go into schools and what do you see? You see teachers shouting. You know, it's noisy, it's loud all the time. And it's only if it's like, I never shout. It's like if you go in and you're aware of the energy that you're emitting, your auric field around you, you then create change that way. And so it's very much it's shifting it from being an unconscious process to being a conscious one.
Yeah.
That you're affecting people around you on a conscious level.
Yeah, amazing, amazing. So you developed this practice in the UK, and obviously that's where I met you. I'd love to have said, you know, I was in Japan too, but I wasn't. But obviously we met in the UK, and you then developed all of these skills whilst you were here, and then sadly, Gina took her final sleep, and you decided you were going to go off to Spain. So what was the pull of Spain?
Well, we were thinking about moving to Spain. We'd had discussions a few times, and just after Gina became unwell the year previous, we took a trip out here to come and visit my friend Peter, who actually lives across the road. We thought we'd just go and take a holiday, you know. And so we came over here, and I pretty much fell in love with the place. I had had enough of British cold, and it just affects my joints. I just feel achy in the cold, and I fell in love with it. It was actually this time last year. Yeah, no, the year before we came over. And so I'd become certain that I was going to come over here, and when it became clear that, you know, she was terminally ill, in my mind I was starting to plan what I was going to do, which was going to come over here.
Yeah.
So after she passed away, I basically sold up everything. I rehomed the cats. I packed the car and I drove to Spain to go and stay with my mate Pete, who lives across the road. And he's also a sound healer as well. He does does drumming and chanting and using his voice. So we've worked together several times over the years, and we met back in the UK when we'd done some work together. And so that was it. I didn't really know what I was doing or where I knew where I was going, which was here, but I had no idea what was next or what was going to happen. And so that's what I did. And then the grieving process, it started, because prior to that, you know, I was caring for Gina full time, and you know, she died on our 12th wedding anniversary, the day that we got married, and to the hour.
Yeah.
We were married for 12 years to the day and to the hour, which was quite uncanny. And
Perfect timing by Gina.
quite incredible. And so the grieving process then started, because I was just operating in stress that whole time. And so once I came here and I stopped, it was like this Mack truck catching up with me, and it hit me. And I'd never experienced anything like it before. It just floored me, you know. Then we had lockdown, I hate that word, lockdown. It's just awful.
Mm.
Then we had this.
Staying at home. We had this staying at home.
And so then I really, really did hit rock bottom, and it completely floored me. And I recognised that the grief and the loss was his energy, and I only realised that one night when it got so bad. I got so depressed, and I was either going to throw myself off the balcony because I just had enough and I couldn't cope anymore. And it was just like this thing, like, I don't know what happened, I can't explain it. It was kind of like just this sense of peace followed. And I don't know why, I can't explain it. How can you feel so sorrowful, so full of just at that lowest ebb, lowest point, and suddenly it's just like switching on a light bulb. And it's kind of like, well, I don't want to throw myself off the balcony. I'm still here. What am I going to do? I feel all this energy in my body. It feels like this heavy, awful. So I started to just sit with it and just feel it in my body, and I recognised it was a certain feeling, you know, in my chest area, in here, and it was. So I would just imagine, like, if I just pull energy through, like when I play the didge, and I just send it out through my feet, and just ground it, and I just kept on doing this, kind of like it was just this flushing through of all this stuff.
Yeah.
And what started to happen was just in bizarre things started to happen, like within 24, 48 hours of doing like this binging process, something positive would come, and it was like, how does that work? Because I'd read about it, but I never experienced it before. Something positive would just come about, and then I did it. Then sort of the grief comes in waves. It just hits you like Carrefour, the supermarket or something, and then suddenly I'm just overcome with grief. It's kind of like this surge of this wave of stuff, and it's just like, oh shit, now I've got to just stop, and okay, I'm going to feel this, and I'm just going to allow this to run its course, and it'd be like, it'd be like, you know, everybody around me, it's like, you're just going to have to be okay that I'm a sobbing man, you know, get over it. And it's like, I'm just going to have to be okay with that as well. And so it's kind of like just recognising that it's just a process, it's just energy, it needs to do its course. And I started to enjoy that process. I started to enjoy the grief, because it was just, it'd be like I'm turning it into love again. This passion, this, you know, why, I was, we were madly in love, and I miss her deeply. I still miss her, and I always will.
Yeah.
Changing that love for this one person back into a love for it's that universal love, of which I feel is coming back. But at the moment it's challenging because everyone's walking around with a microphone.
Yeah, it's really interesting, isn't it? That's an interesting dynamic, yeah.
You know. So I'm going around, I'm trying to smile to people. Yeah, and it's a bit challenging when you can't even get a reaction. But I just try and just send out that love. But I do feel frustrated. I do get frustration because it's just the time that we're at, you know. Then I have to deal with the frustration. So for me, the ditch has been so really important to help me through that process of helping me to understand that it sound energy healing helps us to flush out all this stuff. And it's really interesting that now I'm doing a lot more private clients. I'm doing online sessions now as well, and it's just incredible how many people are going through this grieving process at the moment. Grieving the loss of the life that they had.
Yeah.
Relationships breaking. We're all going through it, and
Yeah.
it's so difficult.
But as you say, it is transitionary. All emotions, even the deepest grief, it moves, it shifts. It's a flowing energy. It's only when it gets stuck or we hold on to it and keep it stuck that it becomes damaging. Actually, it's a process that continues to move, doesn't it?
Yeah. And the beautiful thing is that I find that people that attend my sessions, they have like this moment afterwards of, it's kind of like it's revealing the truth as to who they are. And it's like they'll say, oh, that's really interesting. Like the other day I had one on, a girl that I've known for many years, and she's very good with words, and she was a reporter, and she's done she's written things about me and what I do, and she said, oh, I'm in this process of writing this book, but I've had this block on it, and during the session I saw what was next, and it's like, oh, that's interesting. Then another lady that was on there piped up, and she said, oh, she's into painting, and again she was saying, oh, I saw what the rest of it was. And then I had another lady on there, she said, oh, it was very interesting about what you were saying with relationships. She said, oh, I've just finished this breakup with this 16-year relationship of, this being controlled and manipulated in this relationship. And she said, finally she's seen the truth of it. She's seen her own strength, and she's left this guy, and she's now getting back into a form of healing. She's created a space to be able to do it. She's now excited, and so it's really, really interesting. It just seems to show us the truth, and we can only really access that when we're out of the stress response.
Yeah, brilliant. So what's next for Gregg and his tribe of didgers around him then?
What's next? Well, it's just keeping on. I'm just starting to get into some sessions again. I've got some things booked in locally here, which is nice. It's a gradual process, because people are still operating out of fear and they don't want to go out and do things.
Yes.
So it's sort of like it's small steps. So I'm just getting myself ready for that, for when we come out of this, because we will. This is coming to an end.
Absolutely.
Seeing the truth, the truth is coming out. This is going to finish, and so I'm getting myself ready for that. I'm recording my next album, my next download, so that'll be available soon. And just taking the time to just time out still. There's not much else I can do, really.
Yeah, so you're just surrendering to it and doing your own healing, continuing your own healing journey as well.
There's nothing else that you can do. So it's like, well, it's just how it is.
Yeah.
So I might as well just ride the wave, and it'll be ready when it's ready.
Yeah.
No stress.
So, as I ask all of my guests, I'm going to ask you to play a little bit of didge. It'd be rude not to with all those didges around you. But before we do that, what would be your top tip for life for the listeners, Gregg?
My top tip is every day you take the time to switch off from social media, the news, switch off the news. I don't have, my TV here is switched off. I don't listen to any of it. But to take the time to go within and to take the responsibility to do that and do whatever practice feels right for you, whether meditation, mindfulness, reading, being creative, writing, going for walks in the mountains, connecting with nature, sound healing, buy my download.
Yeah, it's fabulous, by the way. It's fantastic. I was so blessed that when you were recording it, you shared it with me before it actually went out there to the world, and it is incredible. I mean, in terms of meditating with that vibration, I can't tell you how incredible it is.
Yeah, thank you. It works for me, every night I put it on. I put it on really low on my iPad, barely audible, and I never reach the end of it. It just drops me off.
Yeah.
So I switch between mine, and I also love Joe Dispenza's got some great downloads as well. So I switch
between those. Yeah.
Between two, but yeah, mine's pretty good.
So I know everybody's going to be so excited to hear a little bit of didge playing before we finish. Can I ask you, do you still have? Is it Big D?
Big D, yeah.
I love Big D. That's kind of my favourite. But anyway, I wouldn't want to influence which one you're going to play, but
it'll blow you away. The iPad will go.
yeah, fall over. Yeah. So here we are, very honoured to have a little bit of didge healing right here. Wow, incredible. I could feel it rising up through my body. I was almost in tears at one point. It is incredible. Thank you so much for sharing time with us, Gregg, and with your amazing talent with the didge.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Pleasure. It's lovely to connect with you, Lisa.
Thank you.